All cameras going?
All cameras going.
Live?
We're live? You ready? Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. Today we have Braden Eric Peters, aka Clavicular, the prominent looks-maxing influencer and streamer who views physical. One more time. All right, here we go. Today we have Braden Eric Peters, aka Clavicular, the prominent looks-maxing influencer and streamer who views physical enhancement as a video game cheat code and believes it's ridiculous to play the game fair when you have access to enhancements. Clavicular, welcome to Vlad TV.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first time here.
Do it one more time, sorry.
There's a problem?
It's just too loud.
What's too loud?
Your voice.
My voice?
Yeah, I lowered it. You're good now.
Oh, okay.
Just
All
do
right.
it one more time.
No problem. All right, here we go. Today we have Clavicular, the prominent looks-maxing influencer and streamer who believes that physical enhancements is a video game cheat code. Clavicular, welcome to Vlad TV.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first time here. Let's start at the very beginning. So you grew up in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Correct.
Now, your mother was a serious weightlifter.
Yeah, back in the day.
Okay, so in what way? Was she a bodybuilder or?
Yeah, so she did some like the, different leagues, like the wellness division. I forget the exact divisions women compete in. But yeah, it was bodybuilding style stuff.
Okay, and she was actually competing and winning trophies and stuff like that?
Well, I'm not sure, about trophies or how well she was doing, but I know it was a part of her life.
Okay, and your dad would lift weights also, but not as seriously as your
Just
mom?
recreational.
Recreational.
Yeah.
Okay, so you grew up in this household where, your physical body, health, and everything was a big deal?
Yeah, it's funny though, because my parents, I never really saw them lift a single weight in my entire life. That was kind of before I was born, so a little before my time. But the influence, yeah, certainly. I mean, just the fact that we had an entire home gym built out, and my parents could show me to a reasonable degree how to properly train. Yeah, that was a big part of it.
Okay, so you're growing up in this family, and right around puberty, you're having a lot of social anxiety?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Explain.
I mean, it wasn't too much about social anxiety. Like I wasn't really just ever a nervous person, you could say. I would say I just didn't really fit in too well. Like I was always pretty low inhibition, especially growing up. So like I wasn't afraid to, do crazy things as a kid. I was just, maybe not someone who had the same hobbies as the rest of teenagers would, like sports and whatever else. So that was kind of the divide.
So as a kid, did you have issues with your looks and so forth, or not really?
Yeah. I mean, as a kid, when I was going through puberty, I would say, my facial features were pretty soft. I had horrible acne. I had a shaved head. So yeah, I would say I was pretty much invisible looks-wise.
Okay, and then 2019 rolls around. You're 14 years old, and the pandemic hits. So now you're at home and not going to school.
Mm-hmm.
And is that when you kind of started to get into the whole looks-maxing thing that would become looks-maxing afterwards?
Yeah, so I would have been 13. That was when I was in 8th grade. And so March of 2020 is when they sent us all home virtually. And that was pretty much, I would say, the last time I interacted with people normally for another 2 or 3 years, I would say. So yeah, just forum culture in general was something that I sort of picked up around that time because, I really had nothing else to do. We went up to our house in Cape Cod, away from the urban city. So, the interactions were extremely limited.
Okay, so you start researching body enhancements around this time,
Mm-hmm.
and around the age of 14, you take testosterone cypionate?
Testosterone and enthate.
Okay. And that's a steroid?
Yes.
Okay, so why'd you take that at age 14? Because at the time, that was illegal, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, testosterone requires a prescription. So yeah, the reason I took testosterone was I just saw these people going to the gym for years and years and really making no progress. And testosterone was something that was discussed on all these forums as, sort of a way to just make gains extremely quickly. And I was like, well, if you have this technology available to you, it just seems almost ridiculous to not utilize it.
Well, there are side effects to it, though.
Correct.
Acne is one of them. And there's possible serious cardiovascular situations that could happen. You could have a heart attack on it.
Well, it's a bioidentical hormone, so that's certainly true about steroids in general, but there's a lot of nuance and it's dose dependent, right? So, comparing the stuff that I do, like my 240 milligrams of testosterone, to the stuff that open stage bodybuilders do, if you categorize that the same, then that's just foolish, right?
Okay.
Because they're oftentimes running grams of steroids. And yeah, that's certainly cardiotoxic. That can give you extremely high blood pressure and cause these cardiovascular events. And unfortunately, we've seen a lot of guys pass away over the years because of how far they're trying to push it. But that is not the goal, right? My goal is not to be a 280-pound, 7% bodybuilder. It never was. It's really about functionality. You just feel better throughout the day. You sleep better. You sort of feel how a man should, and typically how your ancestors would have with the testosterone levels historically.
Okay, and once you got on testosterone, you were like 14 at the time? The gains came quickly.
Yeah. So I was taking testosterone. I'd mix in, random orals every once in a while. And I started blowing up quickly because I was in a massive caloric surplus, but the gains weren't necessarily all lean tissue at all. So yeah, I would say to myself, oh yeah, I put on 40, 50 pounds in a year or whatever, but a lot of it was, body fat because I was in sometimes multiple thousand calorie surplus a day, which is just not optimal.
Right.
But I was slowly building up my knowledge and figuring out the way that things worked. So I actually descended my looks quite a bit during this process. I got worse looking.
So were there side effects from that stage?
Yeah. So right off the bat, when I first started, I had been researching. I had a general understanding of how steroids worked, how different pharmaceuticals interacted inside my body, and the potential side effects that could come. But, I really didn't know how my body specifically would react. So, a lot went wrong at first.
Such as?
What?
Sorry, such as?
Mostly just skin-related issues. Like, what you learn is your hormones fluctuate to a high degree when, you're doing like infrequent pins of testosterone. So you kind of, figure out eventually like, hey, if I just keep my hormonal profile super stable with pinning daily, then, I'm not going to deal with a lot of the same issues in regards to acne and other side effects, because you compare that to women's menstrual cycles, how it's a huge hormonal swing and dip. That's what causes a lot of them to break out, and a lot of the reason women take birth control is to avoid this process.
Right, because steroid rage is a real thing. I remember I had an operation for a deviated septum, and they gave me a steroid, and I remember people did not like me that week. I was definitely easily triggered.
They didn't give you an anabolic steroid. They gave you a topical corticosteroid, probably. It's a completely different thing. So no, the steroid rage is that's pretty much a meme, right? So
is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you take testosterone for the first week or so is when you're going to really peak in terms of your libido. But after that, you return to baseline. You're not going to have roid rage. It's not a thing that really happens outside of extreme high doses. Or I'll add the nuance of trenbolone is one that's even given me some changes to my mental state.
Yeah, sorry, just a lot of background
Hey,
noise.
ladies, come on. Bring it upstairs.
Okay, so you're going through this, but you're actually documenting it on the internet. So was it on YouTube initially?
Yeah, so I mean, I was posting all over the place. I was posting on forums. You know, I would upload videos to YouTube. And I didn't want to be a content creator at all. That was never the intention. I really don't know why I documented everything, but there's a massive archive of everything I've done over the years, and me talking about my anecdotes. So that was kind of one of the reasons, I would say, for my success is just, you know, a lot of those videos, the nostalgia edits and stuff, you know, on the low pixel cameras. It's relatable. People like it, so.
Okay, so as you're going through this in high school, are you dating at all?
No.
At all?
No. During the pandemic era, well, freshman year, I was almost entirely virtual. Sophomore year was pretty much still 50-50 on everything with the COVID masks and this and that. And alongside the fact that, yeah, no, I was extremely subhuman. I would say that those were my worst 2 years, looks-wise, of my entire life. So yeah, I didn't even really make an effort because by this point, I was pretty much looks pilled, and I realized like what, you know, my looks percentile was, and that it really wasn't even worth an effort. I knew I wasn't gonna be incel forever, and I knew I would ascend eventually, but you know, I just really felt no need to make an attempt. Also, the fact of the matter is I wouldn't have really been able to regardless. I just wasn't social.
At what point did you actually start dating, though?
I had my first serious relationship at 18 years old, but I had been, you know, getting with girls and just, you know, as any, you know, kid that age would, but no serious relationship. And that started probably towards the tail end of my junior year when I was 17 years old.
So what age did you lose your virginity?
At 16.
At 16?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a serious relationship?
No.
Okay. All right, so then you graduate high school and you go to Sacred Heart University. But then 3 weeks later, you get kicked out.
Correct.
What happened?
Well, it's just like I was talking about. I was pretty much writing an archive and sharing every single detail about my life, about my protocols, whatever, that it could have potentially led to someone sending these details into my school about how I was on testosterone, whatever, that could have tipped them off, or, you know, someone who's really to say. It's just not something I really bothered pursuing because it doesn't matter. So I don't really know how they found out, but they found out. And I was coming back from the cafeteria, I remember quite vividly, and my door was open and my dorm room was filled with campus police who confiscated all of my stuff.
Right. So you get expelled for hiding testosterone in your dorm room, essentially.
Correct. Yeah.
How did that feel? Because, you know, look, you build up, you go through all these years, you go through 12 years to get to college, then you get kicked out.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a preparatory school and you know, did all this stuff for this college pathway that, you know, that everyone's supposed to take, and I just got screwed over, even though what I was doing wasn't harming anyone. You know, it's not like I was selling drugs to people out of my dorm room or even using recreational drugs. It was literally me just looks maxing.
Right. So now you get kicked out of college. And at that point, are you like, I'm all in?
Yeah. So the way that it worked was, I mean, it was silly. They, you know, brought me into this meeting and were, you know, treating me as if I was some like massive like issue, and I had to leave the campus immediately while they did like an investigation on the matter, which kind of extended like months. So I didn't actually know, like it was a pending situation for a while. You know, am I going to go back to school? You know, am I expelled? I didn't know immediately. So I eventually found out, I would say around the time of really towards the end of the year. So they kind of strung me along for a while.
They dragged it out, yeah.
Right, and which was completely ridiculous. So yeah, the way I was treated was not right. I mean, I suspect that there was definitely some issues with Fourth Amendment related stuff in that situation, but it's just not a concern of mine because it actually wound up benefiting me to leave college. And I would say, quite frankly, I would have left college anyway. I didn't think I was going to make it those 4 years. Pretty much within the first week, you know, I attended a couple lectures, and during my biology class, it was a 3-hour lecture. I made it through about 45 minutes, and I stood up and walked out of the class because I was like, I can't do this.
Okay, so was the Looks Maxing name around at that point, or did that come later?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and you made that up?
Yeah.
So explain it.
So, you know, it's like I said, it kind of comes from like the origin point was more of a fitness one than a looks maxing one in the same context that it is now, with a hyper focus on, you know, facial aesthetics over the physique. So the clavicle bones, your frame, is extremely important, and you're really never going to be able to have a good physique no matter how much you train, no matter how perfect your diet is, if you've got the wrong bone structure and a poor frame.
Okay, and the clavicular name, was that around the same time?
So this was, I would say, this was my name towards the end of 2023 or early 2024.
Okay, so before college.
Yeah. So
Okay.
no, I mean, by this point I had somewhat of a recognition on social media, I would say, from like posting on forums. It's like I was known within an extremely small subculture of the internet.
Right, and the clavicular is an adjective meaning the clavicle collarbone, essentially, right? These are the bones connecting the shoulder blades to the breastbone. So you named yourself after a bone in your body.
Yeah.
Because that's a main focus of what you do?
Well, it just, that was kind of like a black pill at the time, like genetic determinism, that like people had to acknowledge that genetics do matter, and if your frame's bad, like you'll never be able to overcome that and you know, outcompete no matter how many lateral raises you would do. And I would see all these copes at the time on the internet of people with super narrow bideltoids and biacromial widths saying shit like, oh, just do lateral raises every day, which first of all isn't even optimal. But second of all, the genetically blessed, untrained, you know, Chad is always going to mog them.
So now you're out of college and you're full time doing this. Are you working out extreme hours every day, or is it more the injections and so forth?
Well, people a lot of the times think that working out for an extended duration somehow benefits them more, when it's actually the opposite, right? So if you're working out for 5-6 hours a day and like doing the Rich Piana 8-hour arm day, even though I was a huge fan of Rich growing up, that's completely suboptimal and not efficient for making gains whatsoever. So, you know, my training sessions were really between 45 minutes to an hour.
Oh, not that long.
Just super high frequency, low volume stuff. So I was training this muscle group every other day.
Okay. And once again, you're showing all this on the internet, and you start using fat dissolvers, which a lot of people were scared to try. What exactly are those?
So it's injection lipolysis. So what you're doing is you're targeting the adipose tissue in a localized area. So that would be, your cheeks, to chisel out that area because, with dieting and all these different looks maxing methods you might encounter, you can't spot reduce fat. It's just not something you could do without, some form of injection lipolysis.
So you're injecting fat dissolvers into your face. You're actually showing this on the internet.
Yeah.
Is that legal?
Yeah, I mean, to what I was doing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm saying, is this something that a doctor has to administer and you're getting it yourself? Or is this one of these, like, not really FDA approved, done in other countries kind of thing? Or explain it.
Well, I got no comment there.
Okay, fair enough. So did that make a big difference in your face?
Yeah, I would say it chiseled me out a little bit, but the problem is you have to do a frequent amount of sessions, and you're swollen for the next 3 days. Well,
okay. You're trying to get chiseled, but then you get swollen.
Yeah.
Okay. And is that something that you kept with, or is that something that was just a phase?
Well, I mean, that was something I did at the time,
Okay.
but it's just hasn't really been done since then.
And as you're doing this, you're calling out a lot of fake methods. Like, for example, jumping to get taller. Like, what are the other fake methods that were popular during this time?
There was, a lot of cope methods, like thumb pulling was another big one.
Thumb pulling?
There was,
What is thumb pulling supposed to do?
like there's different versions of it, pulling your maxilla forward and giving yourself, some sort of rotation.
Huh.
And so there's just not enough force there. And this messes with, your basocranial angle to, pull your maxilla up and forward. Just, it's not something that works or is advisable. So that was another one. And, because I tried it all, you know what I mean? So I was at a perfect authority, with the research, and I even had the anecdotes to back it up, to be the ones calling out these methods. Because, like the thumb pulling thing was something that I experimented with. I've even made content about it, but then I did further research, and it turned out to not be a credible method.
What about mewing?
Mewing is legitimate.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of nuance there that you can't expect to change an already developed skull of an adult.
Oh, so it's more of a kid's thing.
It's something that will aid in proper development. Yeah.
But that's really hardcore. Like, you're basically putting spikes in your mouth and slowly changing the...
Mewing?
Isn't it?
Just resting your tongue at the roof of your mouth.
That's what it is. But I remember I saw a documentary on it, because he actually did it
mewing?
on his own kids.
That might be a palate expander, is what you...
Yeah, realigning teeth by resting the entire tongue against the roof of the mouth. But you're doing that, don't you have to put something in your mouth in order to do that?
No.
No? Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Okay. Okay, so there was a situation where you were streaming in your Tesla Cybertruck. You ended up hitting somebody?
No comment on that one.
Okay, fair enough. Well, you started making comments about certain people. You did an interview with Michael Knowles, and you called J.D. Vance subhuman and Sydney Sweeney malformed. What does subhuman mean?
It's just a term that we use on the LooksMax forums, and it sounds like extremely brutal, but it's just a word that we became extremely desensitized to, because it was just part of the rating scale on the forum, and it's really not meant to be taken too seriously, like you're actually calling the person lesser than a human. It's just calling them ugly. Really. So
you think J.D. Vance is ugly?
Yeah, I mean, but he ascended recently. I think this was obviously influenced by my comments. So it actually winds up benefiting people sometimes to hear maybe a harsh truth, even if they don't like it at first. So maybe, when he first came across that interview, it was something that, made him rage a little bit, made him mauled. But, now he lean maxed, so he's got a lot better chance of becoming the next president.
What did you do different after you made those comments?
He lean maxed.
Which is?
Getting leaner?
Oh, so you just lost weight.
Yeah.
Okay. And you call Sydney Sweeney malformed. What does that mean?
I mean, that was just a word I used because her maxilla really doesn't give her face a lot of support. That's why she's got that lower sclera show. So like her eyelids droop down a little bit. She's got those, super big eye area. So that was kind of the reason for that. And that was more so a comment I made because that's just someone who's often referred to by the mainstream as the beauty standard.
Right.
And I was like, hold on, wait a second, guys. That might not be the case,
Do you think with her it's like mostly boobs?
Correct, yeah. So a lot of it's like the gooner, porn brain that, people are only concerned with the way a girl's body look and don't prioritize facial aesthetics, which is a little silly.
Okay, so you're building up, and then in November 2025, you get banned on YouTube. And from what I understand is that you were facilitating access to websites that were selling prohibited regulated goods, like fat dissolving peptides and so forth.
No,
It's not true?
no.
Okay, so why'd you get banned?
I got banned for just normal community guideline strikes.
But
Just
usually they
accumulated
give you,
warnings.
I've gotten them over the years also, but they give you a specific reason. Like for example, I got one years ago because one of my guests was basically saying that he doesn't believe in the shot. Right?
He didn't believe in what?
Well, in what do you call it? Like during COVID, what's the word I'm looking for? Getting vaccinated. No, not vaccinated.
Jab.
Yeah, but what's the other word for jab? For some, I'm drawing.
So yeah, I just got
Yeah.
banned for normal TOS violations both times because I wasn't running the channel, an editor was, and they were just re-uploading stuff from Kick, and that has a completely different terms of service.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to, cross-regulate that, sometimes you just deal with issues, but it is what it is.
Right, because a few weeks ago, your other channels, Live with Clav and Clav Looks Max, got banned also by YouTube.
Yeah, so that was just for my editors uploading non-compliant stuff with the YouTube guidelines from my Kick channel.
But was it like once you get banned on YouTube, you're not allowed to start another YouTube channel under a different name?
I
Is
speculate
that
that was a combination. Of
Okay.
it.
How did that feel? Because as someone who's had a YouTube channel since 2008, it'd be catastrophic to lose a YouTube channel.
Well, I wasn't ever really making money on YouTube, so it had no major impact. YouTube's just not a platform that I ever took too seriously. It was something that we began to sort of systemize and work on an approach to, make that a long-term solution and new revenue stream. But unfortunately, we just never got to that. We're working with YouTube and stuff to be compliant going forward. So, we'll eventually get that channel up and going again.
Okay, so there was a situation in a club where you were talking to this woman, and I don't know what the conversation was about, but she ended up slapping you. And then you had security with you, and you said, we're going to call the police. I guess you detained her, or your security detained her?
The club security.
The club security.
Yeah.
Okay, and by the way, bravo to that, because I feel like women put their hands on men and never really have any consequences. And I feel like the way you handled that was absolutely perfect.
Yeah, it's funny because, if it was a situation where, I said something rude or vulgar to the woman or disrespected her in some way, and then she slaps you, it's like, well, That's one thing. But the fact of the matter was, I was nothing but nice to that lady. You know, I let her on the stage, took a picture with her, and then she started yelling about some misconception she had, and she's like, you know, why do you think that you know, women shouldn't have, you know, the right to vote or whatever? And I'm like, lady, like, I'm not even political. Like, you know, what are you even talking about? Then she just like was on a manic episode, freaking out and just, you know, sort of lost it, I guess. But
Right.
it's just,
So,
it's not a good, it really isn't a good idea because I'm an extremely level-headed person. You know, I'm not aggressive, impulsive, but, you know, God forbid that lady smacks, you know, someone else who, you know, hits her back. It's not good. It's just, it's a huge risk. So it's just not, it's not good stuff.
yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I was maybe a few years older than you, I had a very similar situation. I was at a club in San Francisco. I was at a bar. You know, I was with my girl at the time. She sends me to go get some drinks. I'm at the bar, and a woman's like, "Oh, I like the way you look." And I said, "Thank you." And then she just smacks me. And I had this moment where I'm like, I can't do anything right now. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to smack her back? Am I supposed to push her? Am I supposed to punch her? I'm going to look like the bad guy
No,
no matter
yeah.
what happens. I had to just literally go back to my girl and tell her what had just happened and just take that L.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's the thing. Like, I never go out, you know, into this world looking for trouble. It's like when I go out, I'm looking to talk to girls, you know, dance and just have a good night. So I'm always on good time. But you know, some of the nights there will be someone who's in a bad mood or had something go wrong in their life recently that just wants to ruin it for everyone. So unfortunately, you just come across those people. It's good. I've got a great security team who, you know, keeps those threats away. So I'm able to just continue doing my content in a safe way.
Well, there was a situation where you and what I like to call the Red Pill Avengers went out. And in the car on the way to the club, someone started playing the Kanye Hail Hitler song. And I've interviewed Sneeko about this. And then at the club, it got played over the speakers, and that became a whole thing in Miami, which is where we are right now. Now, it didn't seem like you were really going along with this.
I mean, I'm just not like a political person, you know. It just, you know, obviously doesn't benefit you in any way to spend time, you know, focused on politics when, like a lot of the time, people's lives are in a really disadvantaged position, and they think that politics and like voting is the way out of it when it isn't in any way, you know. Your vote really doesn't mean much. Your, you know, Twitter profile of you replying to senators doesn't mean much. If you actually want to fix your life, you have to ascend in a lot of different ways. One of them being looks maxing. So that's always been, you know, my stance on politics.
I mean, how did you feel when you got caught in the middle of it? Because the mayor of Miami made a statement. They were saying that all the people there were banned from clubs in Miami, and various people addressed it different ways. Andrew Tate was there. He tried to distance himself from the situation. Sneeko was all in. And I've interviewed Sneeko before. I feel like you relatively were quiet when it came to this.
Yeah, because it's just not my thing. It's not my content.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, in April 14th of this year, you were on stream and then you collapsed in the middle of the stream. Later on, the news came out that it was an overdose.
Yeah, that was what it was called, but it was really just me just passing out, just, you know, same as I'm sure people do all the time at bars from ingesting alcohol. So yeah, a bit of an overreaction media-wise, and you know, it being on live stream certainly makes it a little bit more of a spotlight. But you know, I was completely fine. I was, you know, went and had the grand opening for my club a few hours later. So I mean, it was a, you know, not as bad as people portrayed it. And,
Well, you talked about taking Adderall before,
yeah.
and probably pronouncing it wrong. Pregabalin, which is a stimulant.
No,
No.
no. So that's an interesting one. It's more of like an anti-anxiety thing, you know, and both of which I have a prescription for. So yeah, Adderall is a stimulant that you know is dextroamphetamine, just helps with productivity and staying focused on work. I have ADHD, so it's just something that I'll utilize for that context. And the pregabalin blocks a neurotransmitter, one of the excitatory ones called glutamate, which is largely responsible for your anxiety. So pregabalin can make you lower inhibition, but you know, you eventually can start to get dependency to stimulants and to other pharmaceuticals like that. So you know, I advise against people taking Adderall, even though it's one of the most prescribed drugs. Yeah, don't take Adderall, don't take stimulants. I see, you know, people making that assumption all the time that like, oh, you know, you support or you recommend this, that. It's like, no, I never have, and I never will, because I'm someone who understands these things really well. I understand the pharmacology behind it. So it would be completely ridiculous to suggest that I, in some way, advocate for those.
So are these all prescribed medications
Yeah.
for your ADHD and so forth? But even with that, you can get addicted, and there is long-term problems that people have in terms of that.
Right, because you're kind of just like dysregulating your dopamine system entirely by taking stimulants like that. So it does build somewhat of a dependency,
Right.
where your baseline starts to diminish, and you require these stimulants to have the same energy levels and you know, mental capacity as you otherwise would.
Like, are there plans to just quit cold turkey, or are you weaning yourself off of it, or what? Or do you just not care really, and you know, if the doctor prescribes it, I'm gonna keep rocking with it?
Well, I mean, I don't take any recreational drugs.
But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the other stuff.
I know, I'm just clarifying,
Yeah.
or drink alcohol at all. So yeah, I have an extremely low prescription dose of Adderall, and that's just kind of like dependent on what I'm doing, you know, for the day. If I'm doing a lot of work, like, you know, scripting out different content segments, or you know, just planning out different events, whatever. Yeah, maybe it'll get utilized, but I have no dependency to any of these things.
Well, in terms of looks maxing, there's a few things that you focus on. One of which is leanness,
Right.
and you think that's the best way to looks max.
Yes.
Okay, just
Absolutely.
losing weight.
Yep.
And you actually advocate for Ozempic.
Yeah. So
Okay.
no, I'm a huge fan of GLP-1s for the reasons that. Oh, sorry. 1 second. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of GLP-1s for the reasons that it lowers your cholesterol. So it's actually, you know, going to have cardiovascular benefits and extend your lifespan. This is something that's really good for people who use testosterone as well, because that increases your lipid profile. And with the retatrutide, you're decreasing it, right?
Okay, well, I've taken Ozempic before.
Well, I advocate for retatrutide, which is a little bit different.
A little bit different.
So that's a triple agonist, so it hits 3 receptors, versus Ozempic is a single agonist, only agonizing the GLP-1 receptor.
Well, okay, so I remember when the pandemic hit, and I saw people I knew dying because they were overweight.
Yeah.
And that was a big wake-up call. I said, you know, I'm in my late 40s at the time. I might die if I keep. And I'm like, right now I'm about 202. I was maybe about 230, 235, right?
Nice.
So I started counting calories, and that helped immensely. Once I understood that a calorie deficit is the best way to lose weight. And I started counting the calories and
It's
saying,
the
okay,
only way to lose weight.
it's the only way to lose weight. Right? You can work out, but really it's a calorie deficit that's going to make you lose weight.
Yeah.
So I started losing a bunch of weight. And I said, okay. And I got to the point where I was around the same weight that I am now. And then Ozempic came around. So I'm like, okay, let me try Ozempic. My cardiologist actually recommended it. And I tried it for maybe, I don't know, 4 months. And I just absolutely hated it.
Well, yeah, that's the most brutal one because it agonizes the GLP-1 receptor actually more than retatrutide does. But retatrutide is a little bit more intelligently designed. So it's hitting receptors in your brain, altering your reward system. So a lot of the appetite suppression comes from these mechanisms rather than just straight up nauseating yourself.
Right, because I just felt full all the time. Like I felt like I just went to an all-you-can-eat buffet, and I was like that 24/7.
But that's ideal.
Right, but you just feel bad all the time, at least for me.
Yeah.
Like I felt uncomfortably full, and then I'd be constipated for a whole week. And then I'd sit on the toilet for a whole day, let it all out, and then repeat the next week. And at one point, I just said, it's just not worth it in terms of losing. And I didn't even lose that much weight because I was already somewhat thin. So I said, forget it. I'm just going to go back to counting calories, working out, and I never did it again. And also, I'm hearing about the whole bone density problem with GLP-1s.
Well, that would be more so from the caloric restriction. A lot of the times people start lacking micronutrients in their diet and, they're severely restricting the amount of food they eat. So, yeah, obviously different issues could come from that, but not necessarily, the Ozempic itself a lot of the times. But, yeah, that's why Reta is a lot better, because you're not going to deal with as severe nausea.
Okay, are you on that right now?
Yeah,
Okay, and it works?
it does.
How much weight did you lose on it?
Well, I've just been on GLP-1s for so long that I don't really know.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, then there is height maxing.
Yeah.
Now, that only applies during puberty. Now, you said that growth plates remain unfused if you use aromatase inhibitors to slow the puberty process.
Correct. So that's why girls are shorter than boys, is because their sex hormone is estrogen, and that causes the growth plates to fuse, right? So, the males also have a sex hormone, testosterone, that converts into estradiol through the aromatase enzyme. So you're inhibiting this process to extend your growth window. But, there's a lot of different issues that could come with this, like loss of libido, brain fog, etc. So that's really the problem with a lot of this stuff is, yeah, like the science does make sense, and if utilized properly, you can achieve certain results, but it's unlikely that people are actually going to do the proper research required to benefit from these things, rather than severely detrimenting themselves.
Well, right. You actually said that to use this method along with HGH, you would actually grow taller naturally around puberty time?
No, so using HGH and AIs, you would be taller than you otherwise would. Yeah, correct.
And AIs, right. Okay, and that actually works. So like
Correct.
a 12, 13-year-old kid who uses AIs and HGH will grow taller when they become an adult.
Well, there's a lot of research and instances of doctors prescribing people with GH deficiencies, HGH, and yeah, they get taller. That's not me saying that it's a good idea. In any case, I think that people should, rely on their doctor to provide them with that sort of information rather than just, blindly winging it. Because if you come on and say, if you're going through puberty, blast HGH, well, then someone hears that, they spam a bunch of HGH, and they don't understand the clarification that they need to manage their blood sugar properly. Now they're pre-diabetic,
Huh.
right? So, that's why you got to be really careful about this kind of stuff. And like we're talking about this, all this pharmacology and all the science, but you always have to clarify, like, don't do this, like, you know what I mean? So you have to be under careful supervision from your doctor.
Well, speaking of height, I interviewed a guy named Denzel Siggers.
Mm-hmm.
He had height surgery. You know about this guy?
I believe so, yeah.
Black guy with dreadlocks.
From Turkey. Yeah, he went to
Turkey.
clinic in Turkey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He went from 5'5" to 6 foot.
So that's called a double LL. That's where they do the osteotomy on both of your limbs. Yep.
Well, right. First they cut off, they cut his thigh bones in half.
His femurs. Yes.
Right, and then put metal rods in there. And then he did another operation with his shins.
So it's called distraction osteogenesis, right? So first they make the cut, and those devices are slowly, stretching out his femurs.
Yeah,
it's quite brutal. I mean, you have rods and
you have metal rods, and you crank them open every day. And the crazy part about this is that a lot of the people that he went through this process with around the same time, who didn't work out seriously, went through the rehab that they were supposed to go through, lost their ability to walk properly.
Yeah, that clinic is infamous for giving people infections. And if one of the screws gets an infection, you have to take the entire thing out, remove everything, and lidar in bed for 3 weeks, going through an antibiotics course, and then they have to redo the procedure. So there's Dr. Paley, who's actually in West Palm Beach, who's a lot more reputable, the Paley Institute. But limb lengthening is a very rare thing that people are going to be able to get because of how expensive it is, and the fact that you need to essentially be able to take an entire year off of work or work remotely. So that really limits the demographic that can have access to the surgery.
No, it's an insane operation. And he still had his metal rods in his legs when I did the interview with him. And at the end of the day, he was really happy, though. And I felt like, we talked about this whole situation. It was really based on girls.
Yeah.
It was like a girl said, hey, you'd be perfect if you were taller. And she broke up with him. And he went through a depressive state and said, okay, I'm going to go chop up my legs in half and become 6 feet tall. How tall are you?
6'2".
Yeah, me too. We're about the same height. So I can't really comprehend this whole situation because I've never had height problems. But I don't know, man. Like, I talked to him, and I felt like this was the first time I really got to see true male insecurity. You see it a lot with females, but true male insecurity to the point where you're risking your ability to walk. One of the most basic things you could do in life in order to just
But
a few
it
more
doesn't
girls.
always have to be, because limb lengthening surgery was even something that I did a lot of research and considered myself, right? Because if you come at it from the objective point of view that, okay, the surgery is around $100,000, but then you look at the statistics on how much more money you earn annually on average for each inch of height that you gain.
That's a thing?
Yeah,
Really?
There's a lot of research on this. So taller people make a lot more money in the workplace. You could kind of just like weigh out the ROI of these things, like the risk factor and, the recovery time. And for some people, it makes sense. So, I was never someone who was like, I'm going to do limb lengthening surgery 100%. I was like, let me kind of look into it, weigh this out, and see if it's something that, makes sense to me.
So you considered it?
I mean, I went through the thought process in my head. Like but now that I achieved success through other metrics like, status maxing and money maxing, it doesn't necessarily make as much sense for me, right? Because my plan was to achieve a higher SMV, by adding to my height and increasing that percentile. but instead I just went about it a completely different way. So it's just about figuring out like what makes sense, you know, in the context of your situation, right?
Well, then there's bone smashing. And that's the most, you know, crazy one that's associated with you. Describe what bone smashing is.
Yeah, so bone smashing is based off of Wolff's Law that, you know, when you break down a bone, it grows back stronger. Yeah, so that's one that gets a lot of attention because it's just like, it sounds super outrageous. And like when I first heard about it, you know, I was, you know, I had a similar reaction. I was a little bit more receptive to all these methods than a normie otherwise would be, but I was like, well, this is, you know, at least comical to some degree. But no, there's real science behind it. It's just, it's really funny to me how anytime I do an interview, that's sort of like the main thing that gets highlighted of my looks maxing protocol, when that's sort of just like a minor thing and really won't deliver the same amount of results anywhere close to something like taking a GLP-1 would, right? So
Right. You get more chiseled just by losing weight.
right, so that's just like, you know, that's a part of looks maxing. That's a method I've utilized. But, you know, if I'm telling people like how to looks max, you know, here's a good beginner protocol to start out with. It's not starting off with bone smashing. It's starting off with, okay, you know, facial leanness, angularity, fixing your coloring, things like that, you know?
Right, because bone smashing is intentionally striking your facial bones with hard objects like hammers, bottles, or knuckles to try to change the shape of your face.
Yeah,
Right?
to grow the bones.
Have you actually done it yourself?
Yeah.
Explain.
Explain what?
What exactly did you do? Like, what objects did you use on your face?
I've used a lot of different things because my parents would take away different objects to try to prevent me.
Oh, you were doing this as a teenager?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what have you hit your face with?
What haven't I really? I mean,
Really?
pretty much.
A hammer?
Yeah.
So you hit your own face with a hammer?
Yeah. I mean, it's extremely controlled, right? Bracing your head, you know, and all the proper precautions were made. It's just not really a method that is going to, once again, deliver extremely substantial results, and it takes a really long time to start to see progress. So, you know, it's kind of not at like the S tier looks max that, you know, interviewers seem to describe it as. It's just something that gets a lot of interest because it's outrageous.
Do you think that your face changed at all by bone smashing?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, you know, once again, people ask all the time, it's like, well, what would have happened if you didn't do this? Or what wouldn't happen if you don't do this? It's like, well, we have the evidence to support the method, but, you know, what percentage did it contribute to my ascension? That's just really difficult to say.
Yeah.
I couldn't pinpoint that.
Well, you have something called the harmony score, right? Which is you calculate facial metrics to create a percentage. And you've said that Matt Bomer has the highest score.
Yeah.
Okay. And you said there's no perfect 10s because technology is not there yet.
Correct.
So Matt Bomer would be a what in terms of his percentage?
Well, he would be at the, you know, top percentile of people's looks, but yeah, a 10 out of 10 is a perfect score, right? And
Right.
he's a
He's not that.
94%.
94%.
Yeah, facial harmony. And what I meant by technology isn't quite there yet. It just wouldn't make sense for him to, you know, go out and do a surgery to potentially fix some of the forehead ratio issues that, you know, decrease the score by 6%. It just is ridiculous. And it's not something that will really make sense for years to come. The only surgery that really makes sense is if, you know, there's a clear phthalo, or if, you know, you're not at that literally top like 0.0001% of facial harmony, you know?
What is your score?
Well, I'm not going to tell you.
Okay. Does this apply to females as well?
Yeah.
So who has the highest female percentage?
Ooh, that's I don't know that number. I don't know that off the top of my head.
Who would you place just off the top of your head if you look at celebrity females? Sydney Sweeney is not on that list, so who would you put up there?
A lot of the 2000s Victoria's Secret models score pretty highly.
Beyonce?
No, I believe someone who scored above 90% was Giselle. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, really. Tom Brady's ex-wife was one that scored highly. So yeah, that's a good example.
Naomi Campbell?
I don't believe she scores as high.
Okay. And it has nothing to do with race or anything else like that. It's just symmetry?
It's a lot of things. It's really facial ratios and, a lot of measurements in comparison with the rest of the face, right? So there's one measurement that's the eye separation ratio. That's the width of your eyes, the distance of how far apart they are relative to the width of your cheekbones, right? So it's a lot of different measurements like that, total up to the total harmony score.
Are you familiar with John DeLorean?
No.
So he had a chin implant. Let me see if I could show you the before and after. Sure. So, for example, this is him before and after with the chin implant. And this is, I think, in like the 70s or something like that.
Yep.
Do you feel this is an improvement?
Yeah, it looks like he ascended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you yourself, have you had facial plastic surgery?
No.
Do you believe in it?
Yes.
Okay. What do you usually recommend? Because this is something that's very common with women. Women get nose jobs, very common. Cheek implants and so forth. As you saw, John got a chin, which sounds a little crazy to me, but it worked for him. What is usually the best thing for men to get in terms of plastic surgery?
Well, that's extremely case dependent, and I wouldn't just be able to give a general recommendation on how someone could alter their face without seeing it, But I'm able to quickly identify the biggest flaws and the things that contribute to their lower looks level. So I'll just tell you one thing that I would advocate against would be filler. It's not meant to replicate bone. It's meant to replicate soft tissue. So when you see people trying to add jaw width or cheekbone projection via filler, that's where you sort of get that botch look from the Hollywood fail type of look. And that gives plastic surgery a really bad rap when it's not the plastic surgery that looks maxers are talking about. Plastic surgery, is osteotomies, is, peak implants, things like that. So looks maxers advocate against filler.
Well, you have some interesting takes when it comes to dating. You said that going on a date without streaming is pointless and ridiculous, and there's no return on investment, and it's a waste of time.
In my context, yeah.
Explain.
Well, I mean, like I'm at the point of my career where it's sort of like, grind and, continue to make content, or, maybe there's not as much longevity there, who's to say? So it would be completely ridiculous for me to prioritize a relationship, which, let's face it, could fail, a couple weeks later, versus streaming that's got a clear ROI.
Right. You said that you shouldn't enter the dating market until you reach your full max potential.
Yeah, in a serious context,
And you
but
said,
I think, a lot of my takes have the nuance that I'm a super, super high status person, well known on the internet. So what makes sense for me a lot of the times is not going to make sense for the people watching me, right? And I could give the context that will, because I wasn't, I haven't been this way for too long. I just started really going viral on the internet a couple months ago. I was working a wage job a year ago, so I'm not far removed from that.
Right, because when it comes to men, status changes everything.
Right. Yeah.
You essentially, I almost look at it as a change in roles. Like in the same way a beautiful woman walks in the room and all the men notice her, a famous man walks in the room and all the women notice him.
Correct.
Is that fair?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, it's really just about a mogger. I would replace just the word mogger from the word famous.
Right, and mogger means what exactly?
Just someone who is good looking and has success in a lot of different areas of life.
When it comes to it, does the money change the equation? Being rich as a man?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, everything changes it, right? You have to come with, a well-developed, stat line, or someone else who has it will, they'll come in, because we live in an extremely competitive dating market, right? I'm getting, DM messages from, girls across the country sometimes. So, you're no longer competing with that local 20-mile radius. You're competing with really just everyone.
Yeah.
It's fully globalized. So yeah, that's why when I say, you got to looks max, that's not taking any credibility away from the traditional stuff that you've heard over the years about improving your charisma or, being an interesting person. Like those things still matter. And in the looks maxing community, people will write them off entirely. And I, at some point in my life, probably would as well. When the clarification is, yeah, these things are important and you should max them out because they're not mutually exclusive to looks maxing. Looks are the most important thing, but once again, you got to max everything out.
When it comes to women, from your point of view, what's more important, looks or money?
Well, I would say that I probably wouldn't have the career, the status, and the money that I do if it weren't for certain physical traits that I have.
Well, you're not where you are because of your physical traits alone. It's because of the content you've created.
Not alone, but I don't think people would have been as receptive to what I'm saying and all these different things if not for what's called the halo effect.
Which is?
Which is your personality and the things that you do get perceived better when you're good looking.
Like right now, are you in a serious relationship? Who knows?
Yeah.
Is that something you're looking for?
I don't necessarily like.
This is the first time you're stumbling, by the way, in this whole interview.
Oh, that's a clip. That's a clip. The chat's going
That's a clip
crazy.
right there. That's a clip.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Okay, well, no, I just don't have any like preset way of thinking about things. I think that's kind of a ridiculous approach, is to like go into things with an expectation, because that's going to influence and give you a lot of bias, right? So if you go into a relationship like, oh, I'm not looking for anything serious, then it won't be. But if you remain open-minded and just sort of go with the flow on things, I think that often delivers the most ideal result.
Do you have a type?
Yeah.
What is that?
I would say blonde girls who are, generally pretty in shape.
Okay. What about plastic surgery with women? Would you date someone? Would you date someone who had a BBL?
Here's the thing about plastic surgery is if you can identify it, then it's poorly done work. So the best case scenario is you have no idea a girl has plastic surgery. You're like, wow, I finally found a beautiful, natural woman. And it turns out that 6 months into the relationship, she tells you that she had work done on her butt. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at on that. Like, yeah, I don't mind it, but like I just don't want to be able to identify it.
Fair enough.
And these things don't really get past me, so, you know.
Well, there's some questions that you said that people don't usually ask you. Does the size of a man's genitalia play a role in looks max?
Well, not really in a role of, I mean, I guess like PE is like a subcategory of
PE is
penis enhancement.
okay.
That's really its own like internet niche, but yeah, like it's part of like the content that I've made before because I think it's important. I really just like the term like being a full package mogger. So just improving upon every area of your life that you can, right? So yeah, it's like it's looks, it's money, it's dick maxing, all this kind of shit.
Dick maxing. That's a real term.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I interviewed a guy named the Punisher. He was one of the male escorts that Diddy was hiring to do freak-offs with Cassie. And he talked about this. He wrote a book about it, so we talked about it in the interview. He got a procedure for his penis, where basically a penis pump, where you can pump it where he remains erect for as long as he wants, right?
I think you might be missing.
Well, no. I'm going to fit. There's more to this actually.
Yeah.
So that's one operation, which is just about keeping an erection. But there's a separate operation, which is what we talked about, which is penis enlargement, where they basically take the way you described it is like a toilet paper roll, and they kind of insert like a half toilet paper roll. They insert into your penis, which makes you girthier, and that's a whole different operation, which is more dangerous because there's a lot of infections that could occur and so forth.
Correct.
You're familiar with this?
Yeah, so I'm familiar with all of the different enhancement surgeries that they offer for men, but none of them are really good. So there's different types of filler that can be done to increase the circumference of your penis, but it's not optimal because you're with the filler procedure, you're not equally increasing the glands of your penis, so it just will give you an awkward look, and there's chance of infection, like you said. So we don't quite have the technology for a super ideal penis enhancement yet, but we have a lot of different at-home methods that people can leverage. And I've
the penis pump and all that?
Yeah.
But that's not permanent. That just makes you bigger for the moment.
I mean, there's permanent change to the tissue, right? Because you're filling up your penis with blood and edema and stretching out all the ligaments, right? So while it is true that if you stop with this process, as the months go by, your gains will start to diminish, but it's the same as working out, right? If you stop going to the gym, you're going to lose your gains. It's not an overnight process, but it happens over time.
Yeah, I mean, there's a rumor, Azealia Banks told me that Elon Musk has a botched penis implant.
I mean...
That might be the drive why he achieves what he achieves.
I mean, it's possible, but I mean, I don't know why he didn't just get like facial implants.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But that's the thing about, the dick pill is like for maintaining long-term relationships, if you're not able to give your partner satisfaction sexually, it's unlikely that that relationship will be a long-lasting one. That's probably where a lot of marriage infidelity occurs, and cheating, things like that.
Is there any truth that steroids affects your penis size?
It affects the size of your testicles.
Hmm.
So your testicles atrophy because a lot of the processes within them are no longer required. You don't need endogenous production of testosterone, and your endocrine cycle, your endocrine system shuts down for the time being while you're getting that exogenous treatment.
Well, tattoos. Do you have them?
No.
What is your take on tattoos when it comes to looks maxing?
I think that there's certain archetypes of people that can, ascend from getting tattoos. There was like this old method back in the day called RTT. So RTT maxers were kind of running the clubs for a while. That means roid, tat, tan. So this was like a looks maxing just protocol that people would run, and then go to like raves and shit. But I don't necessarily recommend it for everyone, because a lot of the times you're going to be attracting the wrong kind of women. So you got to keep that, clarification in mind.
What is the wrong kind of women?
Like just women who are promiscuous, the ones who are in those environments. So there's, 4 quadrants of how I like to sort of analyze women. It's, high quality versus low quality, and primal versus non-primal. So, you could attract a lot of high quality primal women by, blasting roids and getting a bunch of tattoos and clubbing and all that stuff. But, is that the goal?
Depends on what your goal is. Sometimes that is the goal.
The goal should be to get high quality non-primal.
So what is a non-primal?
That means usually more, like humble, less promiscuous and degenerate. Typically super modest girl, someone who's intelligent, maybe has an education and is still beautiful.
What would be a 0 on the looks max scale?
That isn't really a thing.
Maybe a burn victim or something like that?
Yeah, it's typically around like 1 PSL. It just depends. But no one really ranks a 0. No one really ranks a 10.
What about body hair and facial hair for men?
Once again, completely contextual.
Okay, so for some men it works. So I've always had a beard.
Mm-hmm.
I look weird without a beard.
Yeah.
I don't know how you look with a beard, but it seems like your look works for you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have the capacity to grow a beard yet, so I don't know. But yeah, it can influence your facial dimorphism. If you're someone who has like a weaker jaw, for example, it could be a good option. So, once again, I would just have to do an assessment of, the person's looks and make a decision.
Now, is there a country which has the highest population of attractive people on average?
Yeah, I would say that it's probably like usually countries with good healthcare, pretty good GDP, and so like a lot of Northwest Europe is usually up there.
Any particular country that you would say has
Denmark.
the most attractive people? Denmark?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Usually the tallest as well.
Okay. Now, you were on 60 Minutes Australia.
Yeah, all that.
Was that? You don't want to talk about it?
Yeah. No. We could talk about
okay,
that.
got it.
Yeah,
Okay. So you were on 60 Minutes Australia, and they're asking you questions about incels.
Yeah.
Now, I guess what I don't understand is, it seems like what you push for is someone not to be an incel.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So why were they tying the incel community to what you do?
Yeah, it's literally the antithesis of the content that I make. It would be to escape inceldom and trying to ascend. So I find it a little bit ridiculous to try to tie in myself as a content creator to that, because it's literally about escaping that community.
Right.
It's not a good thing to be an incel.
Yeah, an incel stands for involuntary celibacy, right? Someone who wants to have sex but can't.
Correct.
But is that usually because of their looks or because of their confidence?
Well, because of their looks.
Because of their looks?
Yeah.
You've never seen guys that are not all that attractive who have, maybe not a supermodel, but they have a decent looking girlfriend.
Oh, of course. I mean, people always try to posture around with different anecdotes or, oh, I got this buddy who's bald and fat and, he gets all the girls at the bar. Yeah, and it's like, sure, charisma is something that plays a role, but I've already acknowledged that, right? But when we're looking at things from a sociological perspective, what's true, in a general context is what we should be focused on, not these super random one-off anecdotes.
Right, and you have a PSL scale from 0 to 10, and at the bottom is subhuman.
Correct.
Right, which you said J.D. Vance was that originally.
Right.
Then
I mean, that might have been a little bit of an exaggeration.
Okay. Then there is a normie, so an average-looking person.
A low-tier normie, then it goes to mid-tier normie.
And a high-tier normie, which is 5 to 6. Then there is a Chad, which
Chad
is
Light, then Chad.
Chad Light, and then Chad. And Chad is a 7 to 8. Someone who's physically dominant and sexually successful.
Oh, on the PSL scale, it'd be
Yeah.
6.
A 6.
Starting at, because PSL is out of 8.
Okay. And then there's God tier, 9 to 10, which you say don't exist right now.
Yeah, so 10 out of 10 is not a thing. But there's no, so it's a little bit weird because the PSL scale now is something that is used and it's translatable to the decile scale, but it was originally intended to remove those top 2 points because it was theorized that there was no one above an 8 out of 10, which is similar to what I'm saying now. But now people will kind of make it translatable by saying, oh, PSL is 1.25, equivalent to the decile scale. And that's just the context that I'll use since it's the most well understood.
Well, when you look at the female community, women get BBLs, they get breast implants, they do a lot. But you being, I think, the most prominent person when it comes to male modifications in terms of beauty enhancements, whatever you want to call it, I feel like people give you a hard time, whereas it's celebrated for females. Go to any IG models page when they post their BBLs or whatever, and you got hundreds of girls, yeah, you look great, girl, good job, this, that. But why do you think that sometimes you're painted as anti-female and so forth?
Well, I would say, I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of rare that anyone, I don't really get that one too much, getting painted as.
You've heard it before.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it every name before, really,
Right.
but I have a pretty substantial female audience who also is involved with looks maxing in some context. Yeah, well, it is true that looks maxing and that forum subculture is a male-dominated space and was intended to be that way. Looks maxing is just a practice that anyone could do. It's not gender exclusive. And yeah, I mean, in the same ways that a lot of men are interested in the things that I'm saying, plenty of women are as well. Because if you call out like the mainstream of body modification, say filler's bad, sometimes Botox is delivering botch jobs, whatever, that's captivating. And people might be like, well, hold on a second, what's going on?
Well, what about, for example, implants? Like body implants for men, like you have bicep implants, you have, calf implants.
No.
You've seen pectoral implants. To me, it's always looked insane. But, you know, and you see people dying from that and so forth.
That's not, yeah, that's not a thing that I advocate for.
At all.
No.
Okay. So what's next for you? You're 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a very interesting position where you have a strong following, you have a very interesting niche, you have an interesting look, and there's a lot of controversy around what you do, which is a good thing in the world that we're in. Do you have a long-term plan for 25, 30, 40, and so forth?
No.
No?
No.
Why is that?
I mean, it's just about, you know, creating the next, you know, couple days of content at a time. You know, I'm too busy with what I'm currently doing to plan out 20 years in advance. You know, just take things one step at a time, and kind of roll with it.
Can I give you some advice as someone that's twice your age, more than twice your age?
Please.
When you look at the most successful people in the world, they have the longest range in terms of plans, right? If you look at someone who's homeless, they're trying to get through the day.
Mm-hmm.
Looking through a middle-class person, they want to get through the end of the month. You look at someone who's rich, they're planning a year or two in advance. And when you look at the ultra-wealthy, the Elon Musk of the world, the Jeff Bezos, they're planning for beyond their death, right?
Well, maybe I have plans that extend far beyond that I just don't want to tell you or the rest of the internet.
Okay.
So I always defer to that answer.
Fair enough. Well, Clavicular, man, I appreciate you spending the time. I think that this dispels a whole lot of rumors and misconceptions about you. And as someone who's in the overall space of where you are, what you've accomplished at 20 is very, very impressive.
Thank you so much.
And you don't see this very often. And people like to downplay what you do and so forth, but this requires a lot of focus, a lot of devotion, a lot of work. And when I look at your success, the first thing I think is well-deserved. You really put in what you need to do to get to where you are, and I think you have a big trajectory in the years to come. So I appreciate your time, man. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
That's
Appreciate
what it is. Peace.